Hey everybody, it's Booray from Tampa, Florida, and I said there wasn't going to be a video this week. If you follow my posts on my Facebook group, Pro Photo Talk with Booray Perry, or you follow my posts here on YouTube in the community section, which I'm convinced no one even knows exists. Good job, YouTube. Then you know that I posted I wasn't going to be putting up a video this week, but I came across something. And I found myself thinking about it so much, I was like, I need to find time to get in there and make a video. Now, the reason I wasn't going to make a video this week is that we are getting ready to sell our house. So we're having to prepare our house to be sold. The photographer is coming in a couple of days, and the maids and all that kind of stuff. And that's why, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, if you look behind me, you will notice that my office was severely less cluttered compared to what it normally is. I mean, I don't even have my cameras sitting up on the counter like I normally do. Everything is removed. Whenever you're going to sell your house, you finally make your house look the way that you wish your house had looked the entire time you lived in it. Like when you get your house ready to sell, you're like, wow, this is a really nice house. I'd like to stay in this house. So we're moving. We're not moving out of town or anything. We're just going a little bit north. I'll still be Booray Perry from Tampa, Florida. Don't worry. But we're just downsizing a little bit. Our kids are older now, and we just don't need all the rooms and all the space that we have. So now's a good time to downsize. I'll let you know how it goes. So the thing I want to talk about is something that I read from another photographer that was posted online. And I don't really follow other photographers much online. I have friends that I follow, but I don't really watch YouTube channels by other photographers very often. The exception of the Petapixel guys, they used to be the DP review guys. They do great reviews of cameras. I love to watch those, but I don't really watch the other photographers who have YouTube channels. There's so many of them because I just don't. I like to exist in my own little bubble. I was a professional disc jockey for years, and early in my career, I spent all of my time trying to be a certain type of disc jockey. I was either emulating other disc jockeys or trying to please my program director. And it wasn't until the very end of my career that I decided to just do what I wanted to do. And suddenly I was more popular and I enjoyed myself much more. And I promised myself when I left that career that that's what I would stick with for the rest of my life if I ever did anything like that again. And so that's what I've always done. When I had a podcast and when I do this channel, I want to do what I want to do. And if I get 10 people watching or 10,000 people watching, so be it. But I really believe in this philosophy, not just as someone who has a YouTube channel, but also as a photographer. And people are always talking about, what kind of photography should they do? And I always say you really should follow your heart and try and do what you enjoy. Find what you enjoy and then do it. Blaze your own path. And don't worry about how many likes you get. Don't worry about how big your channel is, because that's really not that important in the grand scheme of things. At some point, you're going to go away and your channel is going to die anyway. What's really important is that you enjoy what you're doing and that you say what you want to say. And if you do that, even if you only have 5 people who come to you and want to talk to you about what you said, you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve right there. So the bottom line is I don't watch other people's channels. But I do know some of the names, right? There's some folks out there who are kind of big names in the world, and I've heard their names before, or I've seen a piece of a video or something like that. And one of them is a guy named Tony Northrup. And to set a perfect example of how much I don't pay attention to this stuff, the thing I'm going to talk about today is something that he wrote 21 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm right on top of it. This is cutting news from my channel. He wrote this 21 weeks ago, but I just came across it in my Threads feed like this week. So, hang on a second. So I thought it was really interesting, and I applaud. I had to change chairs. But you see me, I'm reaching for the arms of my chair, and there's no arms because I had to put in a nicer chair in my office. Moving is a pain. So I came across this, and it was so interesting to me. And let me just say, first of all, anytime you write anything that I find really, really interesting, bravo for you. That's just fantastic. Good job. And so Tony wrote this thing, and I wanted to talk about it, and I really wanted to see what you thought about it. So I read this on Threads. I'm sure he posted it other places, and he said, street photography should end. What say you? And here were the reasons that he listed. Number 1, we no longer need photographers to capture candid life for historical purposes. Everything is documented. Number 2, people should consent when the primary subject. In the modern era, millions could see their worst moment shared for likes and sold for profit. Number 3, street photography is often used as a pretense for stalking or being creepy. And number 4, at best, it's intrusive and rude. All right, he followed this up by saying, obviously, I'm not talking about photojournalism, documentary photography, photos that happen to have people in them when they're not the subject. I'm not saying outlaw it or that all historic street photos are bad. Street photography historically played an important role, but I believe today the cons outweigh the pros. So I love this post, okay? Because first of all, bravo, Tony, for coming out and saying something that you've thought about, obviously, and you have an opinion about, and just putting it out there and saying, let the chips fall. Let the mud get slung. Slung? Because that you're absolutely going to get some mudslinging on this. I was surprised at how many people agreed with him. I was surprised at how many people said, I like street photography, but I can't agree with what you're saying. I can't disagree with what you're saying. Then, of course, there were the haters who came in and said bad things as well. So I really was thinking about it, and it's my natural inclination to always take the other side in any argument. So if you come at me with anything, I'm always going to look for the other side. So that's easy enough to find in this particular post. But I also want to say straight up from the beginning, bravo to Tony for posting it. And you do have some good points. And I'm not making this video because I want to bash you. And I'm certainly not making this video because I want to ride on your fame. You did a good job of making me want to talk about something. Good job. So let's talk about it. Number 1, we no longer need photographers to capture candid life for historical purposes. Everything is documented. Okay. All right. I've had this thought myself. You go out, you take your camera, and everyone's got a cell phone in their pocket. And you begin to wonder, what can I do with my camera that's any different than what's being done with every single person who has a cell phone? Every moment is being captured, not to mention the fact that there are video cameras everywhere, right? Capturing everything. How many times do you see a funny video on YouTube or something like that, and it's obviously something that was shot by a camera that was mounted to the house or a Ring camera at the front door? So everything's being documented all the time. So you can't hide behind, I do street photography because it's important to document life. Or can you? Because the argument can be made that a good photographer can document life much better than a Ring camera or somebody with their cell phone can do it. When you say everything's being documented and so we don't need photographers to document it for us, yes, it's being documented, but there is impact and there is effect that comes from the artistry of the person who is doing the documenting, right? If you're just taking pictures of a fire, we're just documenting it. And the fire is, in and of itself, its own impact. But a good street photographer can find everyday life, can find mundane things in life, and document them in such a way that they become larger than life, or they have a message, or they have a meaning. And what's especially good about this, a good photographer, is that they can find meaning in something that you could have passed on the street and seen and never given a second thought to. But when the photographer isolates it and says, look at this for a second, then, oh, that person sitting in the cafe with the paper and a cup of coffee, there's a pathos there, or there's a loneliness there, or there's a story there. And the way the light comes in the window and so forth and so on, then it becomes much more interesting. I hate to point to my own work because I am not a great street photographer. I've got my Fuji X100V. I like to go out and do street photography every once in a while, but I'm certainly not great at it. But what I really enjoy is when I find a picture that no one else is paying attention to. I shot a picture. I was going to my daughter's recital, choir thing she was doing, and it was being held in a place at the college that happened to have this giant pipe organ. And while we were sitting there waiting for it to start, a man came in and sat down right in front of the pipe organ and started studying. And as a photographer, I'm always looking for a shot, and I noticed him, and I thought, the juxtaposition of him trying to study in front of this extremely loud instrument, that's interesting. So I took my camera, I got out in the aisle, and I got down low, and I shot maybe 4 or 5 frames, and that was it. And then later this is a nice frame, and I entered it into a competition at the Professional Photographer Association of America, and it was one of the images that I got a merit for that led to me getting my master's degree from PPA. So when you look at street photography in that light, while everything is being documented, it's not always being documented in a way that really brings a story to it, right? I think most people would agree with me on this one. All right, let's go to number 2. People should consent when the primary subject. In the modern era, millions could see your worst moment shared for likes and sold for profit. Okay, yeah, it's valid. I too have a problem when I'm watching a video sometimes online and it's somebody falling, hurting themselves or something like that, and now this video has 1 million likes, and you think that person probably didn't even know that they were being filmed, and now it's out there. Yeah, not a big fan of that. And so when I take pictures of people on the street, I try to respect the idea that I don't want to show them in a way that would really be harmful to them. And I would hope that most street photographers would do that. At the same time, legally, you don't have a right to privacy when you're on a public street. And I keep going back to the first sentence. If everyone is taking pictures all the time, and there are video cameras everywhere, then can you make the argument that I am invading someone's privacy by taking their picture when you just made it clear that their picture is being taken all the time and everyone knows that? This is the logic side of me coming out, right? You can't have it both ways. You can't say, I'm invading your privacy when I take your picture, while also saying your picture is being taken all the time by everybody and by video cameras everywhere. Okay, it's one or the other. Either you're being photographed all the time and it's just the way it is, or you're not, and I'm invading your privacy by doing this thing that is rare. So that's kind of a logic thing for me. That being said, you don't have to post pictures of people that would be embarrassing to those people. However, there are pictures of people that I've posted online that I couldn't get their permission if I tried. When I was in New York City, I stood on a corner for 10 minutes doing pan zoom shots because I wanted to catch a picture of someone on a bike in New York City on a busy street, right? And when I got the shot, I loved it. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm so happy to have achieved it. It's not an easy shot to get. I'm standing out there in the cold trying to get this picture, and then I got it, and this is great, and I feel good. And did I hurt this person in some way? Riding his bike down the middle of a street in New York City. I don't know who this person is. I don't think that this picture in any way demeans this person. And I don't think they would think that they were demeaned. And legally, they have no right to privacy when they are literally riding a bike down the middle of the street in New York City. So that's a tough one, I would love to get the permission of everybody who I take a picture of. But if I have to get permission of every person I take a picture of, there's going to be a whole lot fewer pictures taken. And I think that would be a loss to society and to art. Number 3, street photography is often used as a pretense for stalking or being creepy. Okay, this one caught me off guard. I sometimes worry when I'm doing street photography that people will think that I'm being creepy. But I don't know of anyone who actually is being creepy, and that's why they do it. People who do street photography, to my knowledge, are people who literally are so self-involved. They're not interested in the subject as much as they're interested in, they want to create a picture. It's about them. They want to create art. And people who are driven to create art, they're going to create art. You're not going to stop them. And they go out and they put thousands of rolls, thousands of images through their camera trying to find that great shot of street photography. They're not trying to be creepy. They're not thinking about you. You're just a subject to them. That's the thing. I think people don't realize. You're a subject. You're just a tool. You're just a paint on my palette. when it comes to street photography. I mean, I'm just trying to find the image, and you're just an element in that image. It ain't about you. It really is not about you most of the time. So that one kind of caught me off guard. But I also want to say, absolutely, I want your comments on this. If you're a street photographer or if you're not, and, you know, good comments, please. Let's not be nasty. Just get in there and let's talk about this, because I think it's a fascinating subject. And finally, at best, it's intrusive and rude. Okay. At worst, it's intrusive and rude. Yes. At best, you're saying the very best street photography ever done is still intrusive and rude. Okay, I would disagree on that one. At worst, it's intrusive and rude. Sure, you can absolutely be intrusive and rude with street photography. Easily, you can be intrusive and rude. But at best, it tells a story that wouldn't be told otherwise. At best, it elevates the human spirit. You know, at best, it brings a story where there was none. I mean, at best, great street photography is great street photography. I love great street photography. So I just gonna have to flat out disagree with you on this one, Tony. So that's it. Those are the four things that he put in the post 5 months ago that I just now saw. And I really want to hear what you think about this. Where are we in terms of street photography and everyone being photographed all the time? Because I personally, I don't like that everyone's being photographed all the time. But as a photographer, I can't complain about it because I photograph people too. You know, but I feel it's a little encroachment on our turf now. You know, it's in some ways it's harder to get a good photograph because everybody's photographing all the time. In some ways it's easier because the fact that everyone's photographing all the time means that people don't freak out when they see their photograph is being taken. They're just used to it. You know, so there's just so many angles to this post, right? And this is why I woke up this morning. I had more work to do. Today I have to clean banisters. But I was like, you know, I guess I got to jump on and I got to talk about this because I got to see what my people think. Don't forget to check out my website, by the way, boorayperry.com, because on that website you'll find all the stuff that I offer. I've got a couple of great free ebooks there. I have a fantastic 75-page ebook on black and white photography. And if you are a new photographer, or even if you're not a new photographer, black and white photography, that's the key to everything. It all starts with black and white. And black and white can be so much fun if you really get into it. So go check out that book and be sure to look down in the description because there's going to be a huge discount code in the description of this video for that 75-page ebook. Also, if you're shopping for Christmas or you're shopping for the holidays, please check out my gear page on my website, which has got all the gear that I use both professionally and when I do street photography and when I go on vacation. And if you go there to Amazon and you buy one of those things, I get a couple of dollars and it helps me to keep this channel alive. And I really, really do appreciate it. Also, follow me on Threads, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook at Pro Photo Talk at Booray Perry. And stay tuned. The holidays are here and we're going to be very, very busy, so I might miss a week or two, but I promise I will be back soon with more. Thanks.